Shoda Soji Shodamna Chanjo Bado Dane Gyabso Daje Jinzo Yebe Dola Benje Sanje Drobra Sho Sanje Shodam Soji Shodamna Chanjo Bado Dane Gyabso Daje Jinzo Yebe Son Dola Benje Sanje Drobra Sho Dunini Sundu Jube Nam Jeje Zanzan Kanchen Ten Drobra Chana Bemon Tenzen Gyabso Sowa Dezo Shen Sho 남정 소로고 난다 베메게던 터번도 베종을 저베 유베 답변 저베 신지 신이 줘라 차트로 오케이 사면 상계 조좀 지송게 인지도 하네.
I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by the virtuous merit from practicing perfection, giving and other perfections may attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
올라서 도지지. 나 수바텔리스 수바니스 텔라 펜바 메토지 너발로 조바니스 so we have kind of covered the verse 12 and we are on the 13. 더 제장의 중리단 쪽숨니 단다 쪽숨디 직마 송천나 지당 보나 지발라 다들 신라 묘바상 코르갑에 담로서 민기 제장 중을 아니버어 중 세치 이 직송다.
So just sort of a little bit kind of recapping over verses 12 and 13, but particularly reading through remind ourselves of verse 13. So it says, through associating with the childish, there will certainly ensue unwholesomeness, such as praising myself and belittling others and discussing the joys of cyclic existence.
These both two verses kind of same but little different is there. The first one is the seeing the faults of others. Actually, we are thinking we are kind of expert and quite a very quickly we judge other people's behavior. But somehow we say don't judge other. Don't we say that? We do, right? So and so it is kind of here when we say seeing the faults of others means like we should now remember how His Holiness the Dalai Lama time to time how he reminds us. So saying we should respect the person, but we should always be aware of other people's behavior. So the person and the behavior, we make distinguish between them. So what we can, if we put it like a person and the behavior same, and then automatically what will we get is when for anger, for example, we make a judgment like I hate this person. I know from the beginning he is not right. All this comes directly. But if you feel like his behavior and him then you will be always being very careful with his behavior. And then the awareness, it's not only his mistake, also your way of thinking. You will be very careful. But you won't hate yourself. And the others' behavior, you need to be careful with the behavior. But you will never hate the other person. Same. How much you say, I hate myself, but you are not going to hate. Because you wanted to be like always right, everything perfect. So once this kind of you can differentiate like my mistake, once I'm under the sway of the negative reflection or negative emotions, I lost my control. Like this, other people, it's the same. So I'm not going to support his negative emotions. Like I don't support my negative emotions. So it's very honest way of keeping the distance. Now then, once this is what in the verse 12 it's talking. Now 13, I think it's more like the other people when they think they make judgment very quickly. They hate they bring so many negative emotions from their own side. But due to this influence, how they make a misjudgment. This is the 13th. So let's read the 13 once again, Simon.
Yeah, I'll also read 12 as well, Rinpoche, because I didn't read it. So 12 reads, they are envious of superiors, competitive with equals, arrogant towards inferiors, conceited when praised, and if anything unpleasant is said, they become angry. Never is any benefit derived from the childish. That's 12. 13 reads, through associating with the childish, this will certainly ensure unwholesomeness, such as praising myself and belittling others, and discussing the joys of cyclic existence.
어디지? 다디 마질로 지란이 된다. 특전 쉬유 차베디 봐. 티야당
Yes, I have. Yeah.
야, 소다 된나로라 십정업 중 어지 들이도 와. 디 가지 이체는 샤시나. 다 되나는 믹스스 캐면 또 다디마 디지 예서로 미치게 잡아딘다. 라소 저토바 마세스 셴양스 된디네르샤. 그래서 집어다 줘볼래 펜버톱 펜버 메토버 마세 셴양 집어다 줘나 저 집어 셴라 다되진 셴라 시도와 저 집어 셴라 다되진 셴라 메봐 개보다 유미소 코르와를 가베 땀라 소 민게버 지장 네버 중을 규버 집어다 줘보 미차오스 치치 딱 한지 랑라야 아니 지기 교여 마세 아니 셴라양 아니 지기 더 된다 대 전주선 비춰 봐. 전주선 비춰 봐 인도 잠비 알아 랑라야 녀바요 마세 랑기 녀바요 버 녀바 통당 대기 아니 셴라양 아니 녀바 치기도 우스 김제니 랑라 녀바다 셴라 녀바 셴라 녀바디 쪽송바디 그래 중립바디 랑기 녀바디 랑고 뭐 마시버지 덴데 니던 덴비 차네 애니 집어 덴데 당냠도 파워치기멘스 집어서다 단데 지게를 잘 지실해야 돼 보도가 잘 지기 접어 덴데 덴버드나 막 파워치기멘 체체 세원도 더 디기 개체쇼디 가르고 도스나 아니 아주 남기 응관바세 지어봐 응관바 윤네파 아니 통바당 전에 봐 아주 곰바 첨부주도 곰바 야부주도 곰바 세디 강벌 깨져 코 마인바 곰바스도 잠베 아니 통례 빠제 아 지가서 빠제 야 연질 파 대고에도 잠베 곰바세디 또 근세디 사자다 쿠유점실이 다른 거 되어 깨져 마인바 단다디 계속 좀 쉬어라고 송데 제원도 곰바세도 잠베 또 비기네 지 파트야 빠져 야춘제는 파대고에 그 금전디 아니 감사 게르지당 아니 가가 대바마 임바 감사디기 껴인데 통제 껴인데 디기 콜라에 네버 지도 말아야 네버 지도 샹라야 네버 지도 덴데 인데 랑기 껴인데 문진지체 신기 껴인데 문진지체 덴데 랑기 껴인데 용으로 땅에 체도 신기 껴인다 다른 때 samlo di ndu zambe ani shine di karso gore gomba se gi da da chadang pu da wo changnian do chi do wa
So what we're looking at here is the sort of the whole context of this discussion takes place within the conduct of the conduct, behavior, and activities of the bodhisattvas. And so, in relation to verse 13, Gyaltsab Je, so verse 13 really sort of talks about more about what verse 12 is really talking more about the faults that of the faults that accrue when when accompanying others, but then also, and that in a sense is that the faults accrued a little bit to ourselves, the complications for ourselves. But the verse 13 is actually talking about the faults that also end up occurring to others. So Gyaltsab Je, in his commentary to verse 13, talks about how he says, I'll read it from the translation, which is in the group. He says, so there's no non-virtue that can be acquired from keeping company with the childish. And then he goes on to say, one will definitely take up the habit of praising oneself, criticizing others, and get into the habit of conversation that takes pleasure in cyclic existence, such as stories, and actually could be like news that deal with the king, the people in the country, and so forth. Therefore, one should not associate with the childish. So that's what Gyaltsab Je says in his commentary to this. What also, so it's not just about faults that faults or negative things that come to us. It's also that there's also the harm that will be accrued to others. And so we have to think about both the faults that will occur for us and the faults that will occur for others, and therefore make that decision not to closely accompany what we call the child, as it's said in the English, the childish, the ones who are not skilled, not skilled. So there's also in the sort of etymology of the word, when we talk about the word which is used in Tibetan for monastery, gompa, then the etymology of that word is actually to do with being a remote place. So a place which is remote at a distance from, say, a settlement. And I think it says there are 100 pakse is what yojana. I think it's 100. Not I've forgotten what the word pakse is. 100 yojana or something like that, away from the a sort of a society, a settled place. So that description is a kind of physical or geographical description of how far away, a description of distance, but it's not so much about retiring in a sense to a remote place, but the sense of distancing ourselves from these situations which cause us to develop faults and also cause complications and faults for others. So in that sense, retiring to a remote place in that context is the kind of exact meaning of what the word gun, gumpa or gun in Tibetan means.
Mm. Okay. So now, what to take away from this beautiful teaching is when some of you might have some kind of a feel enthusiastic to do some retreat in the future. So before going into a retreat, uh, isolating from the society, maybe social distance. Why are you putting this distance? What is the boundary? So actually, it's not other people entering to your house, or that it's not that you think like spending time with others is a waste of time. So more, it's firstly preparation, the best preparation going into the retreat. Here, I'm not talking specifically retreat about doing some kind of tantric meditations, but here I'm talking about retreat means to give yourself a time, a quality of time. For that, the first best preparation for this could be you need to recognize your own faults. Now, you have to just have kind of a diary in front of you saying all this bunch of things. I think up to now, the problem is from outside, but I can now see the problem. Surely it's from outside. It's from kind of a conditions can be from outside, but the real cause is the me that I'm thinking to this. So all this, even the problem is like this small, I make huge out of this. As one of my friend would say, uh, I'm making a big scene out from there. So once you recognize this, now what is you needed time alone. Otherwise, you cannot protect your mind. You need a time alone to reflect on this and to make you stronger. Now then you need to have more focus in your life. Then there's a shamatha, mindfulness. Before going into that, we need to answer this question specifically. So what are you going to change? Like your loved ones come to know that you are going into a retreat, they need to, with the respect, with love, they need to ask. So why are you going to being isolated, or you wanted to take a retreat from yourself and others? What would that be? So that you can proudly say, up to now, this and this problem, I'm thinking that inherently there's some kind of problem there. I totally was that acknowledged or ignored, right? This problem, uh, the most biggest problem for me is I grasp that very strongly. That is the problem. So in order to reduce that, now I'm taking a break. So that is a very healthy break. And then time to time, there's a good mantra. That mantra, I'm not talking about like Sanskrit mantra, like Om Mani Padme Hum. The real mantra is this childish behavior. Normally, when you see stupid things, then we say childish behavior. Grow up. That's what we say. But for yourself, you didn't get an opportunity until you met Dharma. So now you've met Dharma. Now you stop saying the childish behaviors to others. Now it's to change yourself. The best mantra would be like, I have to stop this childish behavior. So to compare, relatively, you don't recognize this is like a child or childish, but relatively, to relate to what? You have to see something bigger thing. So saying this, the great master, the great Mahasita, the great who realized one, this kind of thing, they have the same kind, we have the same kind of problem, but they are stronger. But I'm the bigger one. I'm the one who behave like a child. And they go, they are like the adult. They are like the grown-up one. So Arya, and then the, what we call samsari people, I don't know how to put that. So this is something then you can say, I need to reduce this kind of childish behavior. I need to put end to this childish behavior. And then in order to do that, you need to spend a time, quality of time of investigating in your mind and to become stronger. So this verse is such a great preparation to go into the retreat. Okay, then 다 된두와사 된두와 다 된두 제비가라 대다다단 신템바 디니 디니 풍월세버 규월세 대장 다도 마체라 다장 대든 민주르베스 14 please.
So then the next sort of outline in the text in Gyaltsab Je's text is a summary of the meaning which we've just spoken of, and that includes verse 14, which reads, developing myself to others in this way will bring about nothing but misfortune, because they will not benefit me, and I shall not benefit them.
I should not seek you in the paging pebig big del tena 대다 다다 신템베 디니 풍어세버 주스 단다 봐도 더 식디고 코아드로 되나 단다 봐도 아니 신기 알이야 아니 벌써 그래 펜토바 뇌제비나 뇌제의 마리샤스 봐 응아란도 지임비나야 아니 셴려야 너버제베디 마 차주도스 제장가다 너버제 자와디 가르실라비나 다단다 childish behavior 땡당 마신바디 집어 땡땡고 초 상고 땡고르데 단다 바동 아주 땡당디 아니 람 록바기 토네 아니 뭐 땡당디 차데 두점베 어디 땡당 지금도스 디 땡당 먼지we 인자 엔 티니스 집어 땡바 티니 홍보세버주로 홍 시두점베 아니 다치기 삼로 단당 아랑 주고 모롱가 또 깨쳐줘 또 상말로 아니 랑기 집어디 땡당 마신 버치네니 홍보샤스 시티레도.
So it's a little bit, I'm sort of a little bit raising it out in the text. It says, because the verse is translated as that, because they will not benefit me and I shall not benefit them, but perhaps a little bit more sort of nuance to that is to sort of look at it in the sense that it's not, I wouldn't say it was quite like that. It's more like up to now, the situation up to now is that when in terms of engaging with others is probably the best way to interacting and engaging with others up to now, if we look at what are the sort of positive, the benefit or advantages or the harm or disadvantages that others have caused to us, then what you would find is that it's actually the harm or disadvantages are greater, and that would be the same for us in the sense that whether in terms of being able to provide benefit or to provide complication or harm to others, then probably the harm is greater than the benefit on both sides. But this is really a sort of misunderstanding of a lack of knowledge about how to effectively kind of interact or in our accompanying of others, how to interact. And so there is a sense in which, you know, being good friends, being a good friend, someone being a good friend to us, being good friends or positive friends is important. But what happens is that we interact based on a kind of mistaken way or a mistaken path of interaction. And so then this situation which is presented here is what happens because we're not skilled or we don't know the correct way in which to accompany and interact with others. So that's what the first two lines of the verse are saying.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here we all can agree with the Shantideva here, because let's say bring your very close friends for a moment, and then when you had a very rough time, hard time, and then first thing in our mind will just think, I want to discuss this with somebody. I need to take out this burden, and I need someone to lean towards. So then, first of all, your best friend will come out in your mind. So you will call her in them, and then discuss. And then it's really funny because there are so many situations that they will try to help you. But to be honest, how they really help you is somehow good motivation is there, to be honest. But the most advice will just something to like not try to make you strong. It's more like this way of advice will try to, it will kind of like make you you feel it's wonderful. You feel it's very strange, not wonderful. It's very strange. You will feel like it's very supportive. If somebody says, like, let's bring the relationship, saying like, he cheated on you or she cheated on you, then your friend will say, yeah, I know from the beginning he's a cheater or somebody, I told you. Okay. And then he said, like, you should really talk, or you should really not keep quiet. You need to come forward. It will make you very liked or something. So you follow this advice, and if you come into a fight, then maybe the friend will just come along and then say, like, I support you. Actually, if you look, to be honest, in this situation, your friend came up to help you. But somehow, relatively, we could say this kind of helping actually make you more miserable. That's for sure. And then you bring this kind of situation, any, you are not getting a good advice. But you feel like once your way of direction, your way of thinking, and you want a person to support you on that. And then you feel like very supportive. But for you, yes, it's a supportive. But to be honest, that kind of support makes you much weaker, I think, in the future, long run. Now, the person who goes into retreat, it's like a kind of a saying, like the seal. So saying like, I thank you for your support, but I don't need this kind of support anymore. So I'm saying temporarily goodbye to this kind of friends and the loved ones. Like one time, our great master was doing a meditation, and he was kind of informed that his mother was not doing well, and she really wants to see him the last time. And then he went to see her, and on the path, on the way to meet her in Tibet, it takes a long time, isn't it? They need to go walking. There's no car at that time. So on the when he looked at the full moon, and then something came out saying, he said, when I decided to go into the caves and to make myself much stronger, and I went there because I know my I think my village or my homeland is full of place where it makes me soft. And then my parents is also kind of a contribution to that. So me going there to listen to her at the last time also will make me very weak. I know that. And then he didn't go to kind of pay his last respect. And then he went back to his cave. Little bit rude, little bit, but it's a great message for all of us. Because if mother says like, now you promise me you will be the householder, and then it will be such a great kind of a, what we call difficult situation for him. This I think it's a very great tip for people who wanted to do retreat. Okay. And the data shen but the point the data number young you base. That oh here if we look at into the Tibetan Church talk was commentary on the 14 and 15. There he says, yeah, tanda dinalo didwa, 대장 닭된 마체라 세티. dinalo pe, jabe oman nalo la, any didus, dinirang remedus, 대장 닭된 마체다, 다장 대된 민줄베 세티 민두스. dinalo la 카르도스나, 대신 영혼 매 이기사 대신 대와 영혼 매버 이기스 지부 엠버 네버 차스 어디 먼저 찍디 한 네버 친구도 디단당을 주비 딱 별로 줄비 차베 나로를 맨나야 이 야비 코로나로라 된다 디 슈치부도 스튜디오 구주친부도 와 어디 저랑 지금 교란다.
Where is it, Rinpoche? Sorry, I haven't got the book. I haven't got the book. I've got the PDF.
오케이.
Because I did like young Pemba Mitoxing Noodle of Jordan, because I say
디디르 나 다처럼 PDF디는 디 과인의 통말에 디도와 콘트기 셈당 예비
Oh, yeah.
디도와
Yeah.
디 당바따로사
Ah,
다디와도와 대장
oh,
다전소 관이 니 자베당 제첸남나 매징 디 차도스 대신 용모 매 이기 지부 엠버네버 차 시여라스 어디야고도
So there's an interesting point just to note in relation to this verse, which is brought up in Thubten Chögyam Drapa's commentary in Tibetan on this verse, where he says that there's a difference between the Tibetan version of the text and the kind of earlier Indian version of the text, and these two lines, these last two lines are not included. Tamanirwa, de tamanio, de gandatan machine. These are not included in the Indian text, but what it says in its place is, as a substitute to that, so it says, for happiness and a state of without the afflictive emotions, with happiness and without a state of the afflictive emotions, I need to rely solely on solitude. So yeah. So with joy or happiness and without any kind of afflictive states, I should solely rely on solitude. And so there are often great meanings in there's a great meaning to be taken out of this as a part of the text, where in the Tibetan rendition is like in the text here, but the Indian rendition is like that. So there's some great meaning to be had in that, I think.
올라서 디던다 키랑 이 지난주 지 교르치 그룹 나라 지 당샤비네 야코 토나레 키바요.
The all
음.
embedded the day dindus, day dinnis, chiba bangne, papi chuggy just
어, 디 단다 다가랑 디드레. 아, 대신 요모메 이기 지부 엠버 네버 차세티. 디 칭니디 지규르 어 그룹 나 당샤나 야고도.
yeah. So we'll put I'll translate those verses and put them into the group because I think they're important to look at.
아, 디지. 다 되네. 음. 다전 디치다. 에, 다 배신 진리 턱은 철벌 자세에 됐다 담자디체. 니 담자디체. 다 담자디체니 아니 체나 가위 구체디 지친 니도 민주로 탐에 빠점 렉버 차스 더디에 양 내가 정보를 정화디 직송다다.
And so this next verse, verse number 15, also there's a great meaning contained within this verse, and it reads, I should flee far away from childish people. When they are encountered, though, I should please them by being happy. I should behave well merely out of courtesy, but not become greatly familiar. And the first line of that verse, I should flee far away from the childish, is kind of like a resolve within inside of ourselves, or a kind of promise, or a promise to ourselves, or a resolve as to what we should do.
다제디 당보디 드시 먹었지. 다 니버디 때문에 아니 테나 가위 규체데 테나 세주도 다 체베qabla 베나 지기 수수 참 내용으로 제대 이제 뭐지 지금 그 참다 되면 임바 지단에 지기 고 미다버를 조금 내지 럼름으로 조금 베내래 어디 저기 다지 고음으로 지 답대 qabla야 심 tempo 수대 qabla야 아니 미션 바지 용체 미디 용네 아니 저기 미디 투브 qabla야 야고 치바르스 고 찰리시레스 지지 통주마시스 딘 야고도가 통조마 쳄체 데데 투비 갑라 아니 다다 투딘 추지 타베드나라 직sig나 다다 워 다랑리어지 쳄버주나 디니 미가신 마테버 줄비 주주방네스 다 미바종어디 지게 카셰도와 같sam을 대인스 지제 아니베 쇼지 인삼체 되네 바종어데 참을 마den예로 통중당 안고 지기 통중계수 근데 춘 자와 있는 지주요 말이스 밑에바다 마가올 규비 주주 빵네 리식스 다 되게 잡랐어요 리식스도 되게 잡라 가르쳐 버렸잖아 아니 녀버마와 소 세드나로라 doing overshooting 살에 녀버마와 짐바 녀버마와 된죄바 된튼바세 천주선벽이 냠내는데도 다 녀버마와 소고 가신 또르 규비에서 규비기 이 그거 체대에서 과정어 때문에 전에 지금 미디님도 데베깔 투수 통동주마도 데메나양 아니 배 파종어 되님도 데베깔라야 파종어 되기 셈데 나온 로버지 소고레스
Yeah.
어디 수송다냐나
And so I think the first line of the verse there is quite self-explanatory. So, but if we look at the second line of verse 15, then it says, when they are encountered, or when we meet these childish people, though when they are encountered, though, I should please them by being happy. So when we meet them, we should, attempt to please them. And so this we could take this in the context of not necessarily in a sort of very serious kind of mantra retreat. Perhaps you don't meet people or something, but let's say you're meditating on you're doing a retreat on impermanence or Lamrim or one of these topics, and we're sort of using these retreats to help stabilize our mind and develop qualities. And then whilst we're in retreat, we happen to encounter someone who comes along. So we're sort of engaged in this whole process of retreat. And then maybe we have to be very careful here, because there's a tendency for us to be a little bit to look down on people a little bit in this situation. We may feel that, oh, we're in retreat. And then here comes a childish person. And I'm in retreat there, and here's this childish person who's not doing retreat or not doing this practice or something like that. So we have to be very careful to remind ourselves that we never look down on people in this way, and also to be mindful of the sort of bodhisattva sort of promises or conduct where they because Tribhuvan Drapa in his commentary to this explains a little bit further about this. I'll have to sort of paraphrase it, but he says in his commentary that if we are at the time when we are staying in say isolated retreat, and it's possible that we meet up with, it's possible that we encounter people who perhaps are childish beings. We should not, we should we should avoid any kind of conduct which causes them to dislike us or to take dislike to us, or to cause them to have lack of faith. And we should sort of speak to them in a way which is attractive or pleasing, and a way which causes them sort of joy and delight. And act in ways which cause them to have kind of joy and delight, and which are able to please the minds of those sentient beings, of those other beings. In the text it says the childish. So we have to just kind of mindful of the Bodhisattva's way of doing things, that we should try to always speak things which are sort of attractive to hear and which have a meaning, but which are also how's the word, in accord with that person's mind also. So these are important factors to remember in that situation.
디네 디 오와 다란데 야 디두가 제주 차원자시 이 주보다 년구로 왕도 자외 삼바 소주권에 하장 ren도 쪽이 제장가 다 미신의 념도 아니 디부체지 송도 야 디부들이야 심 디부세 제단들이야 바로 지리 아니 비종화들니 미신바들이야 자와디 축침부 차용도 코담베 심베디 큐니베 차바단 제체 거기 아니 지금 야부질람나 시부지 가도야 독자진 랍도 시부지 내줘야 근데 아니 산점 당바 예르도 아니 다디가 다다고라 참 샤고레스 되도가 년도 손 디레도가 렌도 쪽에 되어지니도 주로 민주로 차싱사 대라 년도 손네스 다 년도 손네스도 년 최고레스 월 년스도 더 땡고레스 더 땡베네 저기 산삼디 가와네 다 샤고레스라도 저도 년도 손네 차싱 대가랑도가 차싱 셴바단 즉 차바단 셴바간라 레원도 준비 엔 디샤고레스다 디보도 아주 마소네다 시부진 드부치에디 샤고레스 데네 당 다르 송네스 즉 거로지네 아니 샤당레기 니주직 레용도나 다르 송네 컴바타비기 니링 니가단 테베고네 아니 타멘바데 바로 딘지 타멘비기 내당디스 다 타멘비기 세드 디네 잡송아 디베야고요 산잠기 아주 남주 참라 데베고라 아니 참도 잡체 틱답 디네 용초르 디네 용초 마르스 요레데 셈낭로를 틱디 잡베디 제루고요 봐 세상 다 셈낭기 틱디우디 야 대마주 단다 디가소레 준주 견보고 송고도 안에 되는 투빈 저 잡고 뺏세워도 봐 세상 년도 송내 아니 가져스네 아니 잠을 샤고래 다르 송내 아니 디 가져스 봐도 아니 잠을 샤고래 스르점베 다 금전디 차단로서 봐 차과다 신비기 간이야 레온데 년디 샤고래스 아니 다지 베이나 다냠도 거로지네 아니 샤당당 아니 콤바다부지 내주주고도 다 잠을 샤기 세네 샤토버지 고레스 어제단 디만디세데 어디레 다단다데 나로라 시제데 나로라 준주고 나로라 디다 만디세기 시데 어다 디간라 다 조고도와
So in the rest of the verse here, and also Tupten Chögy's Drapa on commentary to the rest of this verse, it talks about how we sort of how we when we encounter others, or how when we're accompanied with others, or come into contact or interaction with others, the way that we should conduct ourselves. And also so there are two sort of elements to this. One is it's about drawing boundaries. So one of the elements is in relation to those who are very close, our dear ones, our loved ones, and placing boundaries. This is talking about in a sort of in retreat, placing boundaries around those. But also this can also be drawn in relation to those who are antagonistic to us, our enemies, and the boundaries that we draw in relation to those. So in his commentary, I'll have to paraphrase it again. Thupten Chögy Drapa talks of how we have to distance ourselves when it talks in the verse in the root text. It says I should please him by being, I should behave merely out of courtesy, but not become greatly familiar, which is described in Tupten Chögy Drapa as sort of, those who are things which we are people or things which we're attached to, our loved ones and dear ones, and also states of mind to do with profit and gain, the possibilities of accruing profit and gain, that kind of mindset. Also, we have to distance ourselves from that kind of company. That's so that's one aspect of it. So that's in the sense of drawing a boundary around those things or those people for which we have attachment or even clinging, and there needs to be that we set a boundary to not go beyond and not go into that kind of arena. But also in terms of coming into contact with or taking up interaction with those who are antagonistic to us, our kind of enemies. And there, in that relationship, it says that we should also avoid our interactions which take place with hatred or resentment, those kind of feelings. So actually, Thupten Chögyam Drapa says, either on the side of a kind of attachment to those who are close to us, or on the side of our enemies and are driven by our anger, our enemies. Both of those two, the feeling of closeness and distance, have to be sort of we have to remove those sort of states of mind from ourselves and stay in a kind of more common kind of more neutral sort of middle position, a kind of neutral state. I'll translate all of this and put it in the group. And so it's about drawing boundaries, being in retreat and drawing boundaries around these things. So not drawing boundaries for not getting involved in attachment to those who are close, and not getting involved in hatred or anger towards those who are distant to us. So that is when it talks about in the line where it says, "I shall not become greatly familiar." This is what Thupten Chögyam Drapa is commenting on. Because
어디래 디래.
이쪽으로
디아고도 어디. Now, 다 때문에 빼디하고 스타도 니어 빼디 로아시나 네 하고 저거 봐. 다 주도디 버타. 공외 면도 정지신 쉬기 된점 랑네니 끊了원체 마통신 디버 매버 네버 차스.
And so it's best, we always learn very well through examples. So if I read the example of this is given in, of it, a very nice example is given in verse 16, where it reads, "In the same way as a bee takes honey from a flower, I should take merely what is necessary for the practice of Dharma, but remain unfamiliar as though I had never seen them before."
다 단다 디 정직이 아니 다디리샤 든든슈 타고되네 마 그런데 좀비 봉엄 장매기 면도지 카도단 질러 소발라 차네 디링도 네바다 사 네베 삼바소 칸양 메버사 정지점 랑네 로신도 우스 알바 카도도 질러 소발라 차네 디링도 네바다 네베 삼바다 디조디 지게 그랑게 슈글 지금 말랍시나 지서바티 턴다 고서바 제단도 단다 정직이 아니 면도기 난기 아니 그랑게 갈수 그랬다 주디 속으로 왔다 넥터 드럽디 nen가 드럽 qab려야 그기 지 갈수 그랬들려야 면도기 아니 소다닝 제모다 카도다 치다 데졸베 차제니 니 그랑을 차진 되어 뭐야 봐 그랑게 정직이 닝부디 렌 차보다 고디네 마 텐로도 와 어디나 신세월 디나 신기 다 한주장 가르치고 그랬으나 차단 속에 선바신매비 최주비 된 랑규류 소시 내바다 최주비 니주기 된점 최기 소념도 랑네스다 소수기 초고야기 nenga 아니 소수기 시기 미진나로야 고야데 가리임바데 하고와 체니 아니 하모고 구시라 고야 메바단 데졸 차과치니 고 라디오 메바 경청부지 라야 데졸 바 도고레스 디 장만나 신체치 그런 게 닝부도存念 도치 아니 셴 닝지모다 데조 요여버데 이네 딜라 차네 데디기요 말레스 지선 장만도 저기 그 내가 한테 지도 우세 손로치 데리도 와 어디냐지 두나다
So in terms of the example, then the honeybee comes to the flower to extract the nectar and when the honeybee, so the honeybee is not coming with attachment. It doesn't really notice. It doesn't come with attachment to the shape of the flower or its color or even its smell. Any of those things is not attached to any of those things. It has a very specific purpose, which is to come to extract the essence or the nectar. And that's what the honeybee is very specifically after. So we should also, take this example of the honeybee, and we should, and also, so what's important is for us to understand in our lives, what it, the importance of understanding what it is that we need to extract from this life. What is it that we need to, what is the essence that we need to take out of our lives, and not understanding that causes us problems. So it's very important that we take this example of how the honeybee operates and apply it to our lives in the sense of what is it that we need, what are the important things that we need to, the essence that we need to extract out of our lives. So this is the example that we need to think on.
Then that and that the dinalole the siktamadi 아니 데네지기 차단기 니주도 숙침보지 차조도 잠베 아니 마르기 디뇽비기 미네레 소소기 지기 빈자이네레 파마이네레 어다 간제지기 고 차단기 계제드간 레온도 잠베 아니 시네 뭐시라 싱금해베 손으로 치는 파샤고레스.
Yeah, so but so this when we get involved with other kind of people, whether they're people who are very close to us, our relatives, our dear friends, our parents, or other people we don't get on with, then we tend to think that what we should do is just kind of push everyone through either attachment or hatred. Because in Nanzadiru, 全部人这个趴下过的way，插不赢那样，斜当赢那样，还是对。
So it's more like uh now when if even it's your teacher, even if it's your parents, even it's your best friends, if you think some kind of a situation that it brings more kind of a the talk is not really helping, especially it is going towards the direction of the attachment part, and then the hatred or kind of aversion line, then you need to act very strongly. Like reaction should be more from inside, not from outside, saying like, who are you? What's wrong with you? And then you need to come back, not go with this flow. So this is what I think a strong meditator has to build up these kind of qualities in order to bring strong meditation. Did it work? The day short. Now we stop here today, and then we continue next time. Okay. Thank you. So we do a dedication. Who's going to share the file, dedication file?
Try.
Simon or Kelsey or Shambhala, who does have?
Kelsey do it.
Kelsey do. Kelsey can share the file.
Do it.
Sorry. I'm not finding it.
Do you want me to do it, Kelsey? I'll try.
Yes.
Okay.
Hang on. Where are we? Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. That. Okay. Sungsho. That. Kelsey, can you read that?
Yes. Yes. Having
Okay.
thoroughly investigated in accord with all that I have heard, day and night through the four reasonings, mind born of reflection on these topics of contemplation, may this discernment sever all doubts. And the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri, who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best, by all the gone beyond victorious ones of the three times, in order to have good conduct. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys.